Bhagavad Gita as it is, by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I was going to read a verse or two, maybe, before we have our japa session. We've been meeting a few devotees online, video chat, and chanting japa for a few hours together. It's very nice. So that'll be in a few minutes. So let me read a verse or two before that session starts. And this is chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. And it's the section where Kṛṣṇa's explaining that about the senses and why they need to be controlled and how they need to be controlled. And so there's several verses dealing with controlling the senses. So this is text 61. Amaganatimirandasya kana salakaya chakshuan militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my most humble, respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Hare Kṛṣṇa. So, text 61. Tāni sarvāṇi saṁyamya yukta āsīta mat-paraḥ vaśe yasyendriyāṇi tasya praj pratiṣṭhitā. One who restrains his senses, fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Prabhupada's commentary. That the highest conception of yoga perfection is Kṛṣṇa consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Kṛṣṇa conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvāsā Muni picked a quarrel with Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, and Durvāsā Muni unnecessarily became angry out of pride and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, although not as powerful a yogī as the sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sage's injustices and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his senses because of the following qualifications as mentioned in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So there's three Bhagavatam verses here that I'm sort of familiar with the Sanskrit, but not that familiar. So instead of stumbling through it, here's the translation. It's 3 verses from the Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter. King Ambarīṣa fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Kṛṣṇa, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotee, his nostrils in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in tasting tulsi leaves offered to him, his legs in traveling to the holy place where his temple is situated, his head in offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. All of these qualifications made him fit to become a mat-paraḥ devotee of the Lord. The word mat-paraḥ is most significant in this connection. How one can become a mat-paraḥ is described in the life of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Srila Baladev Vidyabhusan, a great scholar and acharya in the line of the mat-paraḥ, remarks, Sanskrit there, translation, the senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Kṛṣṇa. Also, the example of fire is sometimes given. As the small flames within burn everything within the room, similarly, Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis who meditate on something which is not the Vishnu form simply waste their time in a vain search after some phantasmagoria. We have to be Kṛṣṇa conscious, devoted to the personality of Godhead. This is the aim of the real yogi. So the verses leading up to that, explaining the difficulties of the senses, 58. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws his limb within the shell, is to be understood as truly situated in knowledge. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he's fixed in consciousness. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. And then Kṛṣṇa gives the solution. Restrains his senses, fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So that's the secret. It's not enough just to restrain the senses. We have to fix the mind on Kṛṣṇa. And the example given is Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, who used all the rest of his body for serving Kṛṣṇa. His hands, his feet, his mind, his ears, his nose, his eyes. He's fully engaged in connecting with Kṛṣṇa. And I don't think I have time for another verse. Hare Kṛṣṇa, before our session begins. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So there's a few more verses about the senses. Actually, all the way to the end of the chapter. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare